Hello, hello, hello.
Hi.
Welcome to Therapy Rebranded, where we're consistently inconsistent. Let's get into Reddit. These are some messies today, by the way.
I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
Am I the asshole for refusing to pay for my stepdaughter's tuition because she never liked me?
Wait, what's your answer before you go even further? Gun to your head. What is your answer?
My answer is yes, because of the way she worded the question.
Okay, thank you.
Because she said because she never liked me.
Yes.
If she didn't pay for it for a different reason, I would say not the asshole. I, female 39, married my husband, male 56, 6 years ago. Is there a way to turn down my headphones? Yes. Okay.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's way better.
Okay.
Thank you. I, female 39, married my husband, male 56, 6 years ago. Together 8. He has 2 children, male 20 and female 19, Emma. I have a daughter, female 9. I was a widow when I met my husband. Emma had severe issues with her father getting married again while her brother got along very well with me and my daughter. He is the oldest brother out there, or he's the best older brother out there. Emma did not like me, and she treated my daughter very badly too, to the degree that she almost never left my arms when her sister was home. When Emma was 15, she permanently moved to live with her mother. My deceased husband left me a small fortune left me a small fortune when he passed that I never touched since I had a good job and never wanted anything more. So last year I helped pay my stepson's tuition. I'm planning to do that with my daughter too, and the rest I will add to my daughter. Does she mean leave?
Yeah.
My stepdaughter is very angry now, calling me the asshole. Am I? I never had a good relationship with her. She always hated me, and I don't think she's becoming a good person. And honestly, I would rather leave more to my daughter than pay for her ungrateful ass. My husband is sad because he thinks I'm being unjust. I am very sad about it, but I still don't feel I am the asshole.
You're an asshole.
Why is she an asshole?
She's an asshole because it's not on the kid to create that type of relationship with you. And it sounds like, in this at least, it sounds like she's not taking any accountability for context or anything. You joined somebody else's family.
But wait.
Go ahead.
If you met somebody when their kid was 10 and you guys were married and their kid wanted you to pay for their college, do you think that's a big ask? Because I do.
It is a big ask. It is a big ask, but not because she doesn't like you.
That's the part that's throwing me. And the fact that she moved in permanently with her mother is actually a dig to your family, not to her. Like, I think it's being wrote as though, like, well, she gave up at 15 anyways. And to me, I'm like, it's really sad that she was living with her dad or spending time with her dad and then moved out when he married somebody else. Whether it was the child's fault or not, quotes, which I think it's never the child's fault. But let's say this kid was a terror. Like, just the way she's talking about her lets me know how she treated her.
That, and she'd paid for the brothers. So it actually, like, isn't that big of a deal to her. Like, that came easily because he was amenable.
Likeable.
Yeah.
I think when you're in any kind of parenting role, not showing up in the same way because you don't like them or they don't like you.
This is exactly the therapy situation that I was going to talk about. That's so funny.
I think is wrong. The human in me, though, is like,
I feel it.
Not wanting to pay for someone you don't have a relationship with.
Felt.
Also, of course, the husband is saying it's unjust because it's his fucking kid.
Exactly. And I just always wonder about, like, the parent of the other two. Like, what kind of involvement did he have in, like, fostering that relationship? Or, like, what did that transfer look like when you did, like, make the families one? Like, it's on the parents to make that work. It's not on the kids to have to, like,
make it work at all.
Or soldier through or whatever. Like, that's an awkward thing to make kids do.
How was she terrible to your daughter? Because she was only 1 year old and they got together too. So I'm like, was she disinterested? Was she annoyed by her? Like, it's giving victim-y.
And it might be hard for her because she was the baby before.
Yeah.
Like, that's hard. And she was the little girl before. She's not the little girl anymore. Like, there's all these changes.
So people were responding to her online and she posted an update about what she decided to do. Update. Hi, thanks. This is my update. So this is what she texted her. Hi, Emma. Unfortunately, I have no means to pay for your education, nor do I understand why you would expect me to. However, I can help with finding you student jobs on evenings and weekends. I know many children doing that, including myself. Wish you good luck. Why did she lie about not having the means? This also wasn't a text she sent with her chest.
She's dishonest.
But she's not. It's obvious.
It's obvious, but that's probably why the girl doesn't like her. Everybody else sounds like they're maybe placating this weird, like maybe she's the weirdo in the family, and the daughter sensed it the entire time.
And then the daughter wrote back, okay, whatever, bitch.
It's also weird. It's like she's not going in a place where like she's making like a
Evening and
judgment.
weekends? And what is it 1975? Who the fuck is paying for college with their evening and weekend job?
It's not possible.
Is my tuition $2,000? I'm
It's
really
not possible.
confused. And where's dad in all of this? It's really interesting that she didn't reach out to dad to be like, is stepmom going to pay for my money? There must be like fracture in the relationship with, or pay for college. There must be fracture in that relationship too, right?
Yeah. What were the other comments?
I don't know.
Interesting.
But she got rated as not the asshole. I actually, I'm remembering now as I was scrolling through them, a lot of them were like, it's your money. You get to do what you want with your money.
Such an American, like, don't you think that's like a very specific cultural thing? Because in other cultures, it's not, you just are helping regardless, don't you think?
Yeah. But I do think it's...
I'm making an assumption here.
The other thing about this that's kind of like, is that the reason you haven't spent any of the money is because you don't need it. Like you said that yourself in the email, like, I haven't needed to spend it. So it's also like excess. There is a part of me that gets like, you want to be selfish with your own kid and like leave them the money that their dad left them. But
Yeah.
it's the paying for the stepson because you like him, that's what's
And
throwing
because
me.
he's the best older brother.
I know. He does what you want. He sucks up to you and dad.
You could like maybe like not even give her as much as you give the brother. Like I still think that's fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you really wanted to justify, you could just pay for her tuition or like, and not pay for extras because she probably pays for like the brother's everything if she likes him.
People with money are really interesting, and you're a person with money, so you can correct me. But like people who come from money or with money, there's something really indignant around like, you don't, how dare you tell me how to spend my money? Don't ever tell me how to spend my money. Whatever I give to you is charity. Don't ever ask. Like it's almost disrespectful to ask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like it almost...
No notes.
No notes.
No
Yeah.
notes.
So I think like she's writing back like, wish you good luck is also like, I'm never going to see you again in life. And I don't like...
I know that gives like
It's fuck you.
that she's like not in the family at all, which is strange.
It is. Like, why would her living with mom permanently mean that she wasn't visiting?
It just gives her as weirdo. She's like the middle child. It's just like they just didn't give a fuck.
She's a terrible stepmom.
Yeah, terrible.
All right.
I was gonna say I couldn't tell where you guys were at, like 100% on this. Do you actually believe? So you're acting like the "don't tell me how to spend my money" thing is so inappropriate. How would you react to that, Gervais?
What I think is inappropriate is writing her and acting like it's about wanting... I think the way that she's communicating in this message is really cunty, and I think she's writing her like, I don't have the money, and like just have the conversation, which is like, we don't have the relationship. Like she's leaning on the fact that like it's my money and I can do what I want, but she quite literally did that for her brother that's a year older. Just because she liked him. Same
Sure.
relation. I think if she hadn't done the stuff for the brother, it wouldn't be so weird.
It would be so weird because you would be like, okay, you're clearly choosing your own biological kid, but this you're making like a value and morals judgment about this like kid who's clearly in your family.
This 19-year-old is turning out to be a bad person, so I can't
Bad
fund that. I can't fund that. Like there's so many undertones to this.
Icky.
All she had to do was not pay for either of them, the older son or her, and be like, this was my child's money that was left to from their dad, and
you
it's
can't
hers.
and you can't even argue with that.
No.
You can't argue with that.
But
Yeah.
But the core issue of all of this,
She
the
shared it with the
backbone of this,
brother.
is the husband. I don't know.
Yeah.
Emma's dad is trash. I don't know what's going on with that, but there's he's
Him letting that happen is nuts.
not even, he can't tell her how to spend, although it's their money, but it's really not because she had it before she came into the marriage. He can't necessarily tell her how to spend the money, but I think the fact that like the tone of all of this is that she's not an active part of the family is on the dad. It's the dad's responsibility to make sure that his kid feels included in the family system and that the stepmom knows her place.
Yeah.
So he's actually the villain.
Yeah.
What were you going to say something else?
No.
Okay.
No.
Want to move on to the next one?
Yeah. Am I the asshole for divorcing my husband for putting a camera in our house to prove a point about me? It's been about a month since I, 46-year-old female, found out my husband, 47-year-old male, had put a hidden camera in our living room to prove that I'm lazy and worthless. What the fuck? It was
Hold on, pause. Is she going to turn out to be lazy and worthless? We shall
No.
see.
Is she?
I
Really?
don't know.
Oh. It was a small disguised camera hidden inside what looked like a charging block. He stuck one in a living room outlet. Damn, she was low-key kind of looking for that shit. We have 3 kids, 16-year-old female, 14-year-old male, and 12-year-old female, who all have a bunch of chargers and such, so I did not suspect.
Suspect? Yeah, she was peeping.
She was peeping. The point my husband was trying to prove was that my administrative skills are not up to the super stay-at-home mom standards he has as a high earner deserves.
I'm going to say something really asshole, but why do you need to be a stay-at-home mom when all your kids are in middle?
Agreed.
Not saying you have to work, but like, what are you going to contribute and do? Because like, they don't need you from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m.
So you need to be doing something.
Something.
This is not a vacation. This all started after a situation where my 12-year-old needed a permission slip signed and forms filled out in order to go on a class trip. I admit that things happened and we missed the submission deadline. I had made a note to fill out the forms on another day since it was a task I needed to be 100% focused on. But it became the start of
a permission slip? You need 100% focus on a permission slip?
It's getting, she's like drinking during the day. But it became the start of a new month, and that's when I do most of the shopping and tracking of household bills. On the start of a new month?
Why is she tracking household bills
I
and
know.
prescriptions?
Subscriptions. I do daily cleaning, but we use a service for deep cleaning and landscaping that I had to supervise. What?
She supervised? Oh, she's that bitch. She's walking around with the drink in her hand, yelling at the cleaners and landscapers.
And she's medicated. Long story short, my 16-year-old calls my husband after picking up her sister up, saying she was crying because she can't go on her trip. My husband drives to the school to beg them to let him fill out the forms in the office. Thankfully, they let him since it was the same day. I apologize profusely.
Pause. Why the fuck is the husband the one groveling?
I know. My husband, who is self-employed as an HVAC technician, laid into me about how he had so many calls a day but still handles the administrative aspect of his job, communications and bookkeeping. I yelled back because his work is concentrated while my work at home has a bunch of moving parts and emotional labor as well, and I do it all behind the scenes. He digs his heels in about how I wasn't as busy and needed to do easy things better. A week later, he picks a fight about me not going that day to mail checks out to his employees when I could have done it the next day. Well, that's a big deal, bitch. He admits it to the
Not you being so spoiled that you don't understand that someone getting their check a day late is a fucking problem.
Is a problem. He admits to the camera and starts citing proof of times I was not. He broke the fourth wall of proof of times I was on my phone, and that automatically equals goofing off. I was on my phone researching meals to fit my daughter's dietary restrictions while keeping her healthy as a ballet dancer. I just want to say, I just want to say before I read the last thing, is that her even like listing off all of this is peak, it's peak white woman.
WW.
Like, it's literally
There's no
like
self-awareness going on.
Oh my gosh. I was looking into subscriptions for frozen.
This is the one I screenshotted because I was sure she would delete it.
I was looking into subscriptions for frozen but healthy meals, but you can't cook during the day? I'm so sorry. That's not like, I'm so sorry. She and the rest of us could have on the go or at home. You can't,
Why are you on the go? Where are you going?
Right, but you haven't gone anywhere yet.
This bitch is giving stay-at-home moms a bad name.
No, literally. The fact he took offense to me occasionally lying down when I was researching, or that I had taken a TV break before preparing dinner did it for me. He knew that my days are crazy during the first days of the month, which was when the permission slip debacle happened. I kicked him out of the house. It's been a month and friends have been saying that I'm missing the fact there are others out there who would not disregard the things I do to make being high earning possible.
Well, your friends are dumb bitches and you should go live with them.
Literally. I ended up seeing an attorney and just filed for divorce because I feel violated and devalued. Am I the asshole? She's literally borderline as fuck.
People are going to be so angry you said that.
I even think it's funny that she's addressing an HVAC technician as if it's a CEO of a Fortune 500 country
well, he's
company.
not the technician.
Well, no, I do get it's his business. I'm just saying
he's a technician.
Oh, it is. Okay.
He is a technician.
Well, yeah, but he's writing checks.
But he owns the company.
But he has to be owning the company.
Or he's the, what's it called? The supervisor or something.
I want to know if his high earnings like $150 a year.
I know. I'm like, where do they live?
That's what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Because it gives rural.
Because she's too dumb to get like a real talented husband.
That's not true.
Yes, no, it is true.
That's not what I thought you were going to say, so I am not agreeing to that.
I don't think it's true at all.
The
reason why I don't think it's because I think that I actually don't think she's dumb. I think she's entitled and lazy. Yeah. She's entitled as fuck. And
I think to be
she's
that unself-aware, you're dumb.
I don't know, man. Apparently, she's been scoping for cameras every day, and he literally had to get one to get her.
Oh yeah, there's some awareness.
I think so. I think what's happening is when people don't want to take accountability for their actions and the way they're not showing up, they try to victimize themselves by isolating little pieces of information that sound really unfair and highlighting them. So her highlighting like I can't be on my phone, I can't take a break before work, like a break before dinner. You're not taking a break from anything. You weren't doing anything. And I'm not actually hounding you about what you're doing all day while I'm gone. I'm saying, how could you possibly not get the small amount of tasks that are needed of you done? That's
Literally.
not a crazy thing to say. But
Right.
if you pull out these little snippets, she's trying to make it sound as though, and I think it's funny
She's
because,
being micromanaged or something.
yes, and I think it's funny because either your friends know you're batshit crazy, so they're not giving you any negative feedback, or they're just like you. Like you're in this weird, you're in an echo chamber for whatever reason.
Her seeing an attorney is nuts.
The hubris.
Well, the level of embarrassment, she's got to be so embarrassed. Well, and then I'm sure she's like, well, what if I just leave him and then I can have spousal support and child support
and
I
keep
don't
doing this
and keep doing this.
and marry somebody different.
Yeah, I can't believe she fixed her lips to say this shit like it was normal.
And saying that she had to find a frozen thing. I'm just like,
the frozen dinner is eating me up.
especially because when you have older kids, like it doesn't like the
You
two older
literally-
ones are gonna find something out before they come home because they have after school shit. It's really just the youngest one, and the older two are gonna eat whatever you put in front of them because they're too fucking old to complain at this point.
Well, and also like
Theoretically,
you literally just have to wake them up in the morning, maybe drive them to school, possibly feed them lunch, but you
Maybe.
sound like you're giving school lunch and school breakfast vibes.
yes,
Like just fucking
yes, does not do shit.
does not
Ordering
do
frozen meals
shit.
for your imagine how your family feels if you're at home all day and you're eating like frozen meals every single night.
If you have kids with someone and they kick you out of the house, are you going?
Not willingly. What do you mean?
I did.
Well, I'm saying like
I think most men do because it's like, what are you gonna do? Say no and then get the cops called on you? 'Cause that's what
It
most
wasn't even
Americans
like
do.
that. It was just. It's like it's an
It's also
honor.
like I think they want to go.
I think well, I'm just like if like she kicked him out and like I actually personally from how long they've been together, I don't know how long she's been not working. I don't know what's going on in their life. Fine, everything is equally hers. They've
Yeah.
probably been together for a long time. She probably did support him in a lot of ways. Like, I'm not saying none of that's true, but to hold someone accountable for not contributing to the family system and not contributing to your home and have them kick you out, like, no, I'm not fucking leaving.
No, I'm not fucking leaving.
I'm not leaving.
I'm not leaving my kids.
I'm not leaving my kids.
Especially
I'm not leaving my house.
No, I'm not. This house that I built,
But
that I fucking
Hey.
furnished.
I don't like that I built and I furnished.
I know.
You
I'm
triggered
petty
me.
though.
I don't like that. I don't like that. Don't say that shit. I don't like that shit. You sound like a man right now.
That's the shit that I pull though.
It's petty.
Mm-hmm.
You both do man stuff, and that's why I love you guys. Because every now and then you do side with men.
He's doing she's doing him a favor by divorcing him.
Yes.
She can just get the fuck out.
Yeah. She thinks
What
that
is
she
she
can
go-
do better. I can like hear it.
Could you imagine? I was too busy managing the landscapers and cleaners to fill out a permission slip. And that's the other thing is like this probably would have went totally different if she just owned it.
Yeah.
Just say you fucked up.
You're
Just
better
say
off blaming mental health, bitch. Like you're like she missed the opportunity, to be honest. Like the whole time I'm like, is this really like the hill that she's dying on? Like
it is.
she totally could have played this a different way, and like
It
it
is the
actually would have
hill.
gone on.
It is the hill.
better for her. Okay.
All right, this one's a long one. So
Ready.
all right. I have a bad feeling about this and I am scared. Gabe, have you gotten this one?
I did. I'm just getting it up right now.
No, I'm not rushing you. I know I sent
Yes,
it
you
in
are.
a different email. I'm
But I
not
got it.
because we're doing our own edits.
I like that. Yes, you are.
No, I was joking. But yes. But here we go.
Okay. I have a bad feeling about this and I'm scared. Please help. I, 30-year-old female, have this therapist, 60-year-old female. I've been seeing twice weekly for 3 years now for my borderline personality disorder and childhood trauma, which she apparently specializes in.
It's already suspect.
Apparently. I'm very attached to her and would be lost without her. Ugh. That's my worst nightmare, by the way. Is a
Yeah.
client feeling like that about me. The relationship with my therapist has had its ups and downs, but the past few months it has grown quite tense out of nowhere. It feels as if I don't feel as though from my end I am doing anything differently. I don't know that my therapist has had some significant Oh, sorry, I'm fucking myself. I do know that my therapist is starting over. The therapist with the relationship with my therapist has had its ups and downs, but the past few months it has grown quite tense out of nowhere. It feels as if I don't feel as though from my end I'm doing anything differently. I do know that my therapist has had some significant health issues of an unknown nature that have flared up during this time. Might be worth noting. It's not. The tension culminated one night when I had a phone appointment with her at 8 p.m. and I was telling her some horrible things my mother had said to me slash threatened with me recently. I have recently had to move back in with her temporarily after leaving a less than ideal roommate situation and due to my financial situation being unable to work due to physical and mental health conditions and living off a disability.
Is she from Gen Z? Jesus Christ.
Also,
Sorry, that
phone
was me.
sessions are bullshit.
I was just gonna say that that's not a session.
If your therapist is giving you phone sessions, fuck her.
Insurance doesn't cover them.
Oh, I know people doing phone sessions. Outpatient too.
That's crazy.
And I was just met with silence and I don't know what to say. I found this very upsetting because I felt unsupported and alone in that moment. I cried and asked her, "Why aren't you saying anything?" And she replied that she didn't want to make me angrier about the situation. I just hung up, feeling more upset.
Oh, their relationship is terrible.
The next day, my mother threatened to put me in a home for disabled / mental people if I didn't keep my room clean. That's not true. Since I was already so beaten down and upset from everything she was throwing at me in the interaction with my therapist the previous evening, I cried all day. No, you didn't. I just want to preface this by saying I know I did the wrong thing here and it comes across as really manipulative, but I honestly was just desperate for support and to be heard and to work something out with my therapist, not to threaten her. So I texted my therapist on our Friday during business hours. She uses her personal phone as her work phone and doesn't seem to shut off, so I separate work from personal to tell her what happened and how upset I was. I said that if I couldn't get the support and guidance I needed, that maybe things couldn't continue again. I shouldn't have said this, and I'm partly to blame for what happens next. She didn't reply.
So
Rachel does outpatient therapy. Are you triggered yet?
yeah.
The following Tuesday, we have our session, and my therapist
Fired.
says she wants to talk about my text because she has some things to say, and I agree to talk about it. She told me that also classic therapist move. I'll address this in session.
Literally, I'm not doing this shit with you right now. What the
Not
fuck?
at
Not a
all.
chance.
I'm gonna give you the weekend to cool off and hope you come up with some different shit.
That's exactly it. Exactly.
She told me that treatment can't continue and that she feels emotionally unsafe with me in session and that she has to, quote, defend everything she says. She said it was my choice to live with my mother. I honestly had no other option and I had to, quote, own that choice. She also said something about me not being willing to move forward yet. I would have been if she would have given me strategies to deal with what was happening at home instead of saying literally nothing. She also said that she has been having the discussion of whether to terminate me from many months with her supervisor, which I was completely unaware of. I was crying and left absolutely speechless. She just kept asking me what I thought as if it was nothing. She did mention something about a closure session, but I was so angry, upset, I just left. I also had to take care of myself as I wasn't near home and needed to make sure I wasn't too upset in order to get home safely. That night, I sent her what I genuinely thought would be a goodbye message. No, you didn't.
No.
You sent her a message hoping in your
to
whole
try and hook her back in.
soul she was going to be hooked back in and shamed into this.
Yep.
I mentioned how her saying she felt emotionally unsafe made me feel like a monster and makes me never want to see a psychologist again. She shouldn't have said that.
Who?
Unsafe? If the therapist really said she was emotionally unsafe, she felt unsafe, she shouldn't have said that.
Oh yeah, that's wild.
It's wild.
I would never say that to a client.
I said how I felt foolish that she was planning all this, yet I was still trusting her with my feelings. I said I felt broken because I really valued the therapeutic relationship and look forward to our sessions. I also mentioned a lack of closure, although to be fair, I didn't take the session she offered. She called me shortly after and basically said she said that she felt emotionally unsafe. She brought up a white collar crime I had committed 18 months prior, which breached her trust. I can't go into any more detail. I felt like this was a low blow as I was very unwell at the time and have expressed a lot of guilt and remorse for her to this. In the end, she offered me the closer session again and I took it. Before we even go there, what did she do to her therapist?
What do you mean?
She said that this white collar crime had to be towards the therapist. It had to be.
Maybe she like hacked like the records or did some like weirdo shit.
Yeah,
or,
like to see the like I don't.
Or maybe she did something at work with the therapist. But the therapist
what I was
also,
gonna
I
say
could see
too,
some
yeah.
therapists being like weird, like older white therapists being weird about like ethics and shit. I could see a little bit of that.
2 days later, we met again. She went from being completely cold to warm and motherly again. She explained that what she meant by emotionally unsafe was that she felt that she had to skirt around things to avoid upsetting me and felt like she couldn't challenge me in any way, but we never had a conversation about this. She also said the transference is a lot. We had a discussion regarding transference in June last year, but nothing since, so that took me by surprise as well. On the day, Thursday, she told me I was too overwhelmed and to come back on Tuesday, then we'd see if I needed to come back again after that, which I found out and left me full of anxiety. Between sessions, I texted her and asked if she could please give me an idea of some things I could work on with the next therapist to improve on myself. She turns up on the Tuesday with a list of 15 items to work on. Your therapist hates you.
Your therapist hates you.
Woo! 15?
Wow.
When parents want their kids to work on something, I said you max out at 2. You have to tell them
Literally.
2 things you want them to work on
On
and
a
change.
treatment plan, I max it out at 3 for adults.
2. 15? She must want her to kill herself.
She was terrified of this client.
It makes me wonder what we had been working on together in the first place.
Nothing.
Nothing. You've just been venting to her on the phone and she's been doing other things while you talk.
Literally, she's just overwhelmed by you.
She stressed the need for me
Yeah.
to get a job and re-engage with the community, saying that the thought of me in 5 years' time regretting not starting today brings a tear to her eye, which I found a bit strange. At times throughout the 2 closure sessions, it almost seemed like she was crying, and she did wipe her eyes once or twice. She also wanted a lot about me, quote, taking responsibility and managing transference. At the end of the session, she told me that she would like to work with me again, but it won't be like how it was before, and she booked 2 sessions a week apart in a month time as she was booked out, and then we see if she wouldn't make any promises.
This therapist has shitty boundaries.
I'm scared to go back in 2 weeks now. I don't know what to expect. Is this normal behavior? Am I just a difficult client? Am I the bad one here, or is she? Should I report it? What if she rats me out for this crime? This is in Australia, by the way.
Well, I don't know nothing about Australian ethics then. But it sounds like to me,
First of all, this relationship is really messy and unhealthy.
yes, yeah,
And
you should not go back in 2 weeks.
I also feel like your therapist doesn't like you
Yeah.
and is probably feeling shame about not liking you and trying to kind of play this middle ground, because I feel like when you terminate someone, you terminate them. You don't just like terminate them and then change your mind. You don't tell them how they've been impacting you
No, here
emotionally.
you can get like that's client endangerment or something. Like it's not you're not supposed to, once you end, you're supposed to end. I feel like didn't they say that they were in there for what were they seeking at first? Trauma and what?
We're working on their
BPD.
BPD.
I feel like when I hear therapists talk about working with adults with BPD, this is how it goes. This is why people don't like it. It's because she probably started out, I would guess, trying to give feedback or attempting to. Who knows? She's 63, so I'm kind of. I mean, I'm not surprised because of therapists are shitty, but I'm surprised because she should be better at it, maybe. But
I think you're assuming she's been doing this her whole life.
that's true. That's a big assumption. But this person like intimidated her too, probably, and like she didn't want to. She couldn't do conflict in session. She couldn't give this person hard feedback, and then at the end, these is all the things that she wished she could have said to her. And the client has a right to feel like, what the fuck, because she's probably never brought it up. And this is the thing about people with BPD; they have all this awareness about other people and like none about themselves. So she's probably spot on that something is weird in the relationship. It's just like not seeing it, but like. Yeah.
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 Well, I think,
What do you think?
yes, they're weirdos, but there's this thing that happens in therapy when somebody props you up in that way, you feel responsible for them. You feel like, oh, like this person is looking to me for everything. They'd be lost without me. And you can fall into that dynamic.
It's dangerous.
And it's not true. And if it is true, then
you
they
have a
shouldn't
problem.
just be meeting with you. They
Yep.
should be doing more.
Yep.
And the fact that they're doing twice a week after meeting for years
It's
is
a
a
problem.
red flag.
Red flag.
Because that means that there hasn't been any more stability created. Like if I've been meeting with you for years, the
Your level of
most we
functioning
should
is the
be meeting
same.
is once a week. I hope it's every other week, unless you had something happen in your life and now we're meeting more to process that. But like when she says, like, what have we been doing? Correct. What have you been
Yes.
doing?
Yes.
Why did you wait until you were breaking up with me to tell me what
All
you
these
really
things.
think I needed to work on in
Yep.
order to be a functional part of society? We should have been talking about that the entire time.
Yep.
And if you really feel like I'm creating a lot of havoc and destruction in my life, then you need to be brave enough to say that and be willing to get fired or chewed out.
Yep.
You shouldn't be working with that population.
It's not the right therapeutic role. You shouldn't be working with that population, and you shouldn't be like, you have the therapeutic relationship all fucked up and you need to like revisit how you're going about building rapport.
Mm-hmm.
Ew. A phone call at 8 p.m. on a weekday is nuts.
Nuts.
Also, feeling like you even could call up your therapist like that is
Well, I think
crazy.
it was a scheduled session. Like they were doing phone call sessions, which I think is bullshit because when I'm interacting with someone,
Yeah.
like
I have to see you.
in person is better than telehealth, but at least in telehealth, I'm seeing body
You're
language.
putting eyes on you. Or
Excuse
you're
me.
putting eyes on them.
Well, not only that, and not only that, but like I'm putting eyes on you and you're seeing me when I'm talking. You see my affect, you see my face. When I'm saying something that seems hurtful, you're seeing that my body language isn't showing I'm angry or
Mm-hmm.
whatever the thing is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
It's part of the
it's
therapeutic
part of the
relationship.
relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that is icky. No, you shouldn't go back with her. And if you haven't done DBT, you should do dialectical behavioral
In a
therapy
group.
because that is what people subscribe for DBT or for BPD. So
Mm-hmm.
instead of like sitting around in a circle intellectualizing why you have these behaviors, DBT is
Gives you
teaching you
skills.
skills and what to do with those with your urges, feelings, impulses and how to manage them and how to make choices that feel true to you.
And it's usually more, it's actually, people find kind of the other talk therapy or narrative therapy more beneficial after they've done DBT.
Yeah.
I've had people I worked with and then I referred them out to DBT. They go do that and then they come back and it just works so much better. Even if they don't have a personality disorder, just they're just going for trauma or whatever, that
Mhm.
just they can synthesize the information just a little bit better.
Mhm.
Without derailing you guys or taking this too far,
Yeah.
can you kind of quickly, because I've always kind of been, as someone who's an amateur psychologist, I've heard BPD many, many times, but I don't think I really have a grasp of really what it is and how it manifests itself in the person. Is there, like, to me, I can conflate it with bipolar disorder, or just depression, I guess.
Mhm.
What are the hallmarks of it, or is it something you can identify just by talking to someone, for you guys?
Mm, I think that in a couple sessions, you might have an inkling as a clinician if somebody does. Maybe in one session, if they're like really just like off the charts, like BPD or something, if they're just like giving you, we kind of call it the ick, which is not a nice way to like talk about it, but it's kind of, you just get this feeling like this person's like off in some way.
How does it show up? Like what's a hallmark of someone with EPD?
So what I would say is like there are like really key markers where so you actually can't diagnose with someone with a personality disorder when they're under 18 because a lot of the developmental things that people are doing when they're having borderline personality disorder are age appropriate. They're just really exaggerated versions of being a teen, but
Mm-hmm,
they're age appropriate. And
mm-hmm,
so like a lot of people naturally grow out of borderline personality disorder.
mm-hmm.
You can't diagnose, you should not diagnose them with it. So the way we have conversations is like you have traits of this disorder. And if untreated, we could see you having this full blown disorder. So that's
Mm-hmm.
how we kind of look at it, talk about it. But the center of everything that they do is attempting not to get abandoned. So often people who have borderline personality disorder were abandoned and have significant trauma.
They call it an attachment disorder or something,
It's
right?
not, but yeah,
It's not, but that's what people kind of
like
categorize it under.
layman's terms,
Yeah,
but it's not.
but
It's
it's not.
not. Yeah. So you're worried about being abandoned. And as a result of one, you're worried about being abandoned. And then two, you don't have a very strong sense of self. And so you're so worried about being abandoned that you will become whoever you need to become in those
Oh,
moments in order to connect and relate with those people. So what ends up happening is because they abandon themselves and they'll just go with the flow, they have really intense and unstable relationships.
Over and
So
over and
a
over again.
hallmark of it is like they get really overly attached. They might meet somebody and 2 days later they're dead serious. This is my best friend. And like
wow.
tailor their personality to this person. And then the relationship is tumultuous and unstable because anybody who's letting you attach to them like that also has their own shit.
Yeah.
Um, and so they don't really have a strong sense of self. And there's this, I would almost describe it as like there's this huge hole that they're trying to fill, but they're not using substances to fill it. They're using relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And so what ends up happening is that when that hole is not filled, they're very impulsive and emotionally reactive. So this like their emotions are all over the place. They're super inappropriate, like really big exaggerated responses. Um,
People kind of hallmark it by they you kind of look for patterns of drama.
mhm,
Like you look for drama, then the same drama kind of over and over again. And it's kind of folks who and they're kind of at the center of it, or they kind of ingratiate themselves into it, or they kind of make themselves a part of the problem over and over again because it's how they get their needs met, kind of.
Yes. And there's this other piece of it where we call what we notice it a lot is it's called splitting.
Hmm.
So we talk about splitting a lot in inpatient because we get to see splitting in a way that other therapists don't because they're not just interacting with me, they're interacting with 5 other people I know that I can check in about the interaction,
Oh,
and
It's
how they're
helpful.
showing up in every single interaction is different. So you're either the best person they've ever met or the worst person they've ever met, and there's no in between. And
And
so
for
often what happens with splitting is that, like, they will go, let's say I set a boundary that makes them feel shitty about themselves. I say no to something or I call them on something or whatever. Now I'm the worst person they've ever met. They're going to go prop someone else as the best person they've ever met and try to get their needs met through
Yeah.
that person. And they're going to devalue me to do it.
And that's why it's actually easier to catch borderline in inpatient settings, is because you have multiple eyes on the person, and they might even come back multiple times, or they're there over multiple days. Whereas in like outpatient, you have to wait. Somebody might like self-report that they have it, but you're not really supposed to go off of a previous diagnosis because they're so like fickle to kind of diagnose in outpatient. And so the rule is you're supposed to wait at least 6 months before actually giving somebody that diagnosis, which is ethically probably good, but
Is, is it a personality disorder or
Yes,
is it chemical? Okay.
it's a personality disorder.
Okay.
So there's a really interesting every single person I've ever met with borderline personality disorder has significant childhood trauma. I've never met a person who doesn't have significant
Mhm.
childhood trauma who has borderline personality disorder.
It's an
It is
indicator.
a reaction to trauma, right? Especially when it's intense abandonment. Like, due to the trauma that you've had and the instability in your life, like, you have been taught repeatedly that you have to abandon yourself and that people will abandon you, right? So it's a pattern that's been reinforced over and over again. And when you don't have a strong sense of self, it means you don't have a strong sense of values, and it's really hard to make decisions just in the wind, right?
Mhm.
So there's a lot of conversations online about whether BPD, especially because it's mostly diagnosed in women,
Black women
is
especially.
actually seen as hysteria. And we're
Mhm.
like writing off a normal trauma response as a personality disorder.
Yep.
That's what a lot of people think.
Yep.
What do you think?
I can see
I don't
that
agree.
line of thinking
Hmm.
because it's us. I think people are trying to see it like in a holistic, like
Hmm.
grounded way. I actually went to like a convention type thing. And the guy touched on thinking that yes, trauma is an indicator and a factor and plays a large factor in it, like coming out, but he thinks there is like a chemical component and like a biological component to people having precursors for borderline. And I can't remember like what they are, but he's like, but trauma is like the thing that makes it like flower,
Yeah.
but it was already there. And I do kind of think that it can't just be trauma and then you like kind of your brain like splits. I think that there probably were already like personality things or stuff already going on that makes you like more susceptible.
I feel like narcissism is like the thing in this era, right? That like just people love
Yeah.
accusing others of being narcissist. Do
Mhm.
you believe that BPD occurs on the same level as narcissist? Like, if you had to have the population of each, which one do you think is bigger in
I
reality?
think there's a generation full of people with BPD.
Really? Because you don't
I'm
hear
being a
about
little
it as
bit.
much. You know what I mean?
It's
I
harder to see. Well,
I don't think people even know about BPD.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think they probably occur at similar rates. I think maybe the statistics would say otherwise, but narcissism is a scale and BPD is a scale, and a lot
Hmm.
of people, this is where the conversation is being missed on the internet, is that, like, you can have narcissism in a mild, moderate, or severe version, right? And
Hmm.
so
Come on.
there's a
Do-
lot of, there is differentiation in the community that I work in around, like, how much is this really impacting your life, what does this look like, and what does this mean? And I think often, like, people just generally scoop being selfish into being narcissistic, and
yeah.
being inconsiderate into being
Or
narcissistic.
cold
Yes.
being, yeah.
Yes.
Do you believe that in can narcissism be situational or like based on the person, maybe like with this person they behave as a narcissist all the time?
I don't think it can be if I think if it's situational, you're not a
You're
narcissist,
just being
and,
a
like,
dick.
But there
You're just
are
being a
certain
dick, and that person's trying to pathologize you because they don't want to admit to themselves that they're just not special enough to you for you to treat them well. And they shouldn't have to be special. You should be with a person who treats you well
yeah.
regardless. But like
And
that kind of shit.
if a narcissist, I think Dr. Romani actually says this, is that if a narcissist is being nice to you, it's because they're getting something that is worth it for them. Like, it's not because you are actually like this great person or they're connecting with you. It's because for the time being, you're
Mhm.
making them feel good about themselves, or they've globbed onto you. You're part of their
Glob.
source. Yeah.
I haven't heard that phrase in a while, but yes, globbed on. Yep,
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
I do think they occur at similar rates. And I think
Think
narcissism is intoxicating to talk about because if you dated a narcissist, you don't have any accountability in your
Yeah.
behavior.
It
yes,
kind of wipes the slate clean for
Yes,
whatever
you were
else you did.
tricked.
it's
Mhm.
He's
so easy
crazy.
to get
Mhm.
obsessed with it because as you look back on it and you have different eyes, right, for
Mhm.
everything, and it's like you start to it can be intoxicating that you're I don't know, like
Yeah.
being aware now, I guess. But
I
anyway,
think having insight makes you feel like you have some control. Like, oh, I could avoid that next time. And I think it spirals for people. They
And
get a
you
little
actually have to focus.
too far in it.
And you actually, the trick to like not being with a narcissist is focusing on yourself.
It
Is
is.
not focusing on the other person's behavior. It's focusing on what led you to
yeah.
be with a narcissist.
Well, and also if you are on the internet or if you're on Facebook, the algorithm is going to feed you narcissism videos constantly, like
Only
I
if
have,
you're
and it's like
game.
it's pretty easy to get fucking obsessed with it, right?
Yeah.
If you play into it.
Yeah. All right, let's check in.
You first.
Nope.
I checked in first every time.
No, you don't. I checked in first last time, and you have
You're
a
right. I did the time
topic.
before. Oh, I keep forgetting I have a topic. I keep forgetting.
Well, first, tell me how you're doing overall.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm actually doing I feel quite content today. Today and yesterday and Monday. The whole week has felt pretty
Good. Light.
free. I've been getting I've just been adding a little bit more to my plate, just like trying to take on a little bit more. I have a little bit more capacity. I'm feeling just more upbeat, so that feels good.
That is good.
Do you want help me introduce my topic?
Yeah. So I was like, Rachel,
which I'm actually excited to talk about. 'cause it's
Rachel
fun.
was complaining about this earlier, and I was like, we should absolutely check in about this, which is that
My dating woes now that I'm single.
you're single. And you had somebody that was like a.
Now, I'm sorry to interrupt this wonderful check in, but it got a little too personal. So if you'd like to hear the rest of it, subscribe to us on Patreon. Now, back to the show.
How are you?
Oh my God, I'm so good because we're not shooting after I did trauma therapy. So my body is regulated. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going for a three-peat.
Oy.
No, I'm feeling good. I have been I don't even know. Work has been interesting, and mostly I've just been the bad guy a lot at work lately, which has been fine, but it's just kind of tiring. Like
It's like, come on, y'all.
it's just exhausting.
It's like, find a new shtick.
It just becomes I don't know. First of all, I feel like themes literally roll through inpatient. Like when you work as an inpatient therapist, like there's just some things like you're like it's just like took over the unit. Like there's just like
It feels like there's like weeks of that in outpatient.
yeah. It's
Like,
where
why
I'm
are
just-
all y'all on this shit?
all of you are on the same
Shit.
thing. Like you're all plotting together. Like,
Everybody
it
drank
must
the same
be
water.
Whatever. And some of the Kool-Aid they've been drinking is like there's no point in doing family therapy. And so there's been like a lot of resistance on the front end, which has been kind of tiring.
That's exhausting because now you're convincing and trying to do
Oh,
your
I
job.
don't convince.
Oh, good.
I do I convince, but I'm not persuasive. Like I'm just like, all right, we're gonna have to do this before you go home, so you could do it an hour later. And I just like
Literally.
leave, like I'm apathetic to it because when you start to give teens any power, they just are like,
Mhm.
take. Like if I
Mhm.
can make her work for this, I'll make her work.
If
for
I can
it.
spin, exactly.
So I don't know. I've been feeling very just like locked into work, and I've been feeling like mixed feelings about the weather. Like we're in Minneapolis and we haven't had a real winter in
Mhm.
like a real way. And I'm really excited about that, but I'm
Mhm.
also kind of afraid
Mhm.
by the fact that climate change is changing our entire environment. And like,
We're never going to have a cold winter ever again, it feels
I think we will. I think it's going to be like this. Like, I think we'll have some really cold winters.
It's going to be like the arousal curve.
Yeah. So
What do you think what would you do if like global warming became like, it's like a desert all the way up to fucking Wisconsin? What are you doing? Moving farther north, or are you staying here?
I don't know. I think about things like this all the time, actually. There's a part of me that really, I want to live other places for a while and like kind of maybe live in New York for a little bit and then come back here. And then there's a huge, huge part of me that's like, this is going to be like this land, like the land that we're on now, and like the house that you buy is going to be so worth so much
Yes.
money in 50 years. Like, don't wait a couple of years. Like,
Yeah.
every year that the climate changes and like the South becomes less hospitable,
People are
the
moving up
coast
here.
becomes, people are moving inland. I mean, like, so we have an area in so Minnesota, everyone's like, oh, that's in the middle of nowhere. But we have like a really beautiful land north
Mm-hmm.
that's like on Lake Superior, and all of that, all of that is
Now
bought
getting
up.
bought up. Yeah.
All of it's bought up. Like, people who are like prepping for the future and prepping for climate change are like inland coast is where it's
Yep.
at, or like middle America
Lakes
is
and
where it's
shit.
at, and we have all these lakes and we're really close to Canada,
Mm-hmm.
and like the climate is really hospitable right now.
Mm-hmm.
We only have like 3 months that are super hot. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota gets hot. And so like, I think about that in the back of my mind all the time. Like, if I went in New York and I loved New York, like, would I stay there and just like live it out and like spend money and be selfish and like not have like land for my future generations? I literally think about shit like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this just random nagging voice in the back of my head is like, climate change.
Well, it matters.
Climate change. Whenever I'm thinking about where I'm gonna live,
literally.
specifically where I'm gonna live.
Yeah.
Because I think
I
what's
think
going to
that
happen
too.
is I think things are going to slowly become less hospitable. And I think that natural disasters are going to increase. I think there's going to be
Yep.
less resources. And then I think it's going to be who
A
has the most
race.
resources is going to survive
Yep.
for the longest. Who knows? We might all get wiped out, but survive for the longest.
Mm-hmm.
And so I literally think about that. Like, ooh, am I being selfish? Like, do I need
Everybody's
to buy
trying
more
to move down
property and
south,
land?
and it's like not it. Moving down south is not the move.
Not the move.
And everybody's like, well, that's not going to happen in my lifetime. And it's exactly that. It's like, okay, but you're setting up your kids to like live in poverty in a desert. Ew.
Hang on, I'm gonna put up a picture of what the U.S. would look like if the ice caps melted.
Yes,
I got
please.
that on the whatever. So if you guys want to see it, 1 second.
Great. That's what I need.
No, and I gotta say, so I lived in L.A. for a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is truly what made me like. I felt like everyone from here should have to go live in LA for like a month to see what
It's hell.
like liberalism untethered looks like.
It's a hellscape.
To
What is liberalism untethered?
Where like there's
It's
so
all
many
harmless.
programs for everything
Oh,
that they have like invited. It's just it's look, I'm a liberal, right? But it's like what you see is that this world needs some balance. Like you can't have just one way. Like it's actually healthy to have a democracy with some disagreement. But whatever the case, it's so congested with people. It's so fucking just
It's ugly.
it's hideous. The smog there, everything like that. But all I used to ever think is
Everybody's like, come visit me.
if
And
the
I'm like,
world
visit
ended
what?
there, or if there was some cataclysm there, it's the last fucking place in the world I would want to be because of the mood there. Just like New York,
X.
there's so much hostility anyway.
yeah.
Like it would get dog eat dog immediately.
Mhm.
At
It's
least
not
here
even-
we'd have 2 weeks,
It's not even like just the mood. It's like the lack of space and like
People are
the
living
lack
on
of
top of
resources.
which makes that mood. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, for sure.
So this is the map.
Yes, that's a map.
That's nuts. So Miami's gone.
Miami's gone, so it's basically Miami,
having that
New
problem now.
Orleans, Miami, Louisiana, Mississippi,
Yeah.
is gone. Yeah, look at Miami's down by Cuba there.
Yeah.
So look how.
Yeah.
And it looks like North Carolina, South Carolina's gone, and a little bit of the Texas. I'm surprised more of Texas isn't gone down there, and none of Mexico, or very little.
I think a lot of Mexico's gone.
And
I think
then
it's just like
the-
eating up the coast. The thing that's interesting to me, right, is like when you think about like why it would be so important for you to already own something inland or like own something in the Midwest is that like New York, the kind of wealth in New York and LA is a
crazy.
different kind of wealth.
Crazy.
Mhm.
You're not going to be able to compete with that kind of wealth.
And they're going to buy up everything.
Their wealth travels in
Everything.
our direction, right? In
Yes.
a dominant way.
Mhm.
Correct.
It's
Mhm.
yeah. I wonder what. So you see how that comes up north, like that finger, like above New Orleans, like
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
well above New Orleans. That's
Mhm.
got to be into like Arkansas almost.
It's got to be because the Great Lakes and that are closer together now.
And then
all,
yeah,
like,
they're
pushed
all
together.
swelled together.
Mhm.
New York is underwater.
Lake Michigan and shit
Charleston
is like close as
underwater.
fuck.
Yeah.
I think the reality is probably a New York or a DC wouldn't go underwater because they'll make the nut
No,
the walls.
I
They're
think New
already
York
doing
will go
it.
down.
They're already
Yeah.
doing it in Manhattan.
Yep.
Manhattan. They might like I remember when the L was having issues going out to Williamsburg and Brooklyn, and there was all this debate around whether or not they were actually going to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Well-
oh, do we just let it like whatever?
Go.
But there's just so much wealth in those areas that
Yeah, but you got to remember, like Katrina, they had levees built for that too,
True.
right? And like truly, they were built to a level where they said, well, it'll never
they
get
weren't
higher than
upkept.
this, right?
Yeah.
So
They weren't. Yeah.
true. Totally
That's
true.
all.
It will fail. I'm sure it will, but they'll try.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
So
They'll
those
try.
are the kinds of things I think about, and I think it also, if you look at Mexico, like it's lining up with the mountain ranges.
Mm-hmm.
If you see like the texture of the, it's
Oh, you're right.
yeah.
On
So
the West Coast.
yeah,
Oh yeah, big time. And San Diego's
Yep.
underwater actually.
yeah. So
And
I
LA's
think
not
about
on there. Yeah.
I think about all the coastal elites and how much they've shitted on us and how they'll be coming here in the next 100
It's
years.
why my grandparents sold their beach house. It's too much. It's like literally gonna. It's like it's gonna fall into the fucking ocean. It's like not.
And give it to the next dummy who wants to blow their money on it instead of blowing your money on it.
And did.
I keep seeing that now. Like if a celeb buys something on what's that, like Star Island off of Miami or something, and it's like, what? Like, how do you feel spending that $18 million right now? Like, we could be 10 years from that, or at least like not this extreme, but pretty extreme.
Pretty extreme.
You see, they're starting to test it out. You know, like those like 6-month cruises. They're starting to test out what it would be like for people to live on ships. I think.
So yeah, I don't know. I guess my check-in is about existential doom, but those are the kinds of things I like think about. But I am really enjoying the weather, and I'm enjoying the weather more than I'm thinking about that nagging thought about how this is a bad sign.
It's just like right there.
but it's just like right there.
And you kind of have to think about it just to like check yourself morally. It was like, we're really enjoying this. There's a reason we're really enjoying this.
Yeah, and it's not a good reason.
And it's not a good reason.
Are you guys gonna have kids?
I want
Yeah,
to, yeah.
Okay. I mean,
Which
I
is-
hope you do because you guys are like the type of people who should have kids.
Thank
But,
you.
yeah, no,
That's
of
a
course.
huge compliment.
That is a huge compliment.
I want to have kids, which is why I'm like, it feels financially irresponsible to go buy some shit on the coast. Not because you're just fucking over you, but your kids. Like you're
Yes.
creating generational wealth for your kids
Yep.
by buying a decent property in an area that is going to sustain climate change longer than others.
Just by more property here.
Yep,
And then
exactly.
you'll be just as good. Next subject, Love is Blind.
Woo, woo.
Put that shit up on the screen.
Oh, the thing that I thought was interesting about this was Trevor was a sleeper because he was kind of like a non-character. And then in the week or two
Sleeper.
before the reunion, this girl is like, yo, by the way, and this is what happens.
That's my man.
People cheat with someone or do something foul with someone, and it's all good and dandy until you screw them over, and now they're exposing you.
And now they're unhappy.
So she basically exposed that he went to the show with poor intentions. And
I posted text messages, right? That was like the thing.
she did post texts. There was a text beforehand and a text afterwards.
And then she came out and said she has more, saying that what he said on the show was like not.
Oh, I
correct or
got those
something.
too. I got those.
Okay, I haven't
too.
even seen those.
Yeah, so basically he goes on Love is Blind and he was dating Chelsea, which I thought was interesting because I'm like, dang, you picked bad twice.
Yes, that's what I thought when
You
they met him in
dubbed
person.
twice. You got dubbed like because he was not sincere
At all.
and Jimmy wasn't a match.
And Jimmy went, and he had anyway, keep going.
No, go ahead.
He had a meltdown on the show.
What a meltdown.
Trevor. Don't you think so?
I'm having a hard time remembering. Fill me in.
I'm having a hard time. I just remember him he said he had like a whole thing to talk about and then like couldn't get to it and like froze and
You mean on the reunion or in the episode?
on the reunion.
Oh, I didn't feel like he had a meltdown. I feel like he was held accountable. Like,
Yes, that too.
Gabe, will you pull up the text? So she posts this that literally on his way out to Love is Blind, he was texting her. And she wrote, he wrote, I love you so much, honey. I'm excited for it, but more excited to get back to you and start our life together. Did you get my text? And then she's like, did you land? And he's like, just did. And then he's like, did you find other people on the plane doing the show? And then he ends up having the The guy at first asked, though, talked to me the whole time and established why we are here and agreed on it. And she said, and what was that? And this was just interesting because I felt like he came across earnestly in the pods. Like
I thought so too.
in the pods, I really thought he liked Chelsea and was about it.
He seemed like a lover boy, kind of like a lame gym bro who was ready to settle down. And he was like, nobody finds me attractive. And like,
Why do men play on being they're self-loathing? We like that? Do we like that? Do we play into men who whine about themselves?
I think women take it as he's like, it's like another like fake self-awareness thing of like, he doesn't think he's the shit. He's not puffing his chest out. Like that's like the stereotypical man. So we take it as vulnerability, but it's just like self-deprecating
whining.
and also usually not true. They think that they're the shit still.
Why would someone do that? Why are they pretending? So we take care of them. I feel like that's it too. Like, so we jump in and do the thing that they want us to do. So that was interesting. And then he looked like a deer in headlights on the show because he got back from the show and said, Nala, do you still love me? And she called him Pumpkin. Pumpkin, I'm crying. Can I call you in 30 minutes? I miss you so much. And I love you. And the thing that was so hard about all of this is watching him do this with Chelsea on the show. And
in person.
Yeah. And he writes her, I love you more than anything in this world, and I'm going to marry you. And she said, yes, call me. How heartbroken could you be about Chelsea if the second you get off the show, this is what you're on? Was she his backup plan, or was he never going to be with Chelsea?
He was never going to be with Chelsea.
I also think she was his backup plan. I think both are true.
It's just like, why would you do this?
Because he went on the show to get clout.
How crass is our society? Like, because she's with it, right?
Yeah, she is with it.
At the time.
He tried to claim, so he looks like a deer in headlights on the show.
The entire time.
The entire time. Within 30 seconds of him sitting on the couch, they just like beam into him about this. Like this would happen on. And he just looked at a loss for words because it almost felt like he had bullshit prepared and wasn't anticipating this much evidence.
He said he had a whole thing prepared and he said it just went out of my mind. I don't think he was prepared for that. She said online that this girl said she wasn't prepared for them to pull up the texts.
Yeah, that was the last one. So okay. You
sorry.
Take your time. Yep. We're gonna ask a question.
Not anymore. I've lost what I was gonna say. It went out of my mind.
Okay. He looks so stupid. But
and they had him dressed funky. That ill-fitting ass shirt.
You don't think he dressed himself? It looks like he dressed himself.
That's true. Maybe he did.
It looks like he dressed himself.
That's facts.
But I thought the thing that was interesting about like all of this was that like again, just Chelsea's poor picking.
Yeah, her picker's off.
Her picker is
who would have been more entertaining, her being with Trevor or her being with Jimmy?
I'm thinking Trevor now.
I think so too. He would have been messier.
Yeah, because
he would have been blatantly more shittier to her, I think.
Well, because he could have chosen Chelsea over this girl, but the issue is he had to know she had all of this in her back pocket and that she could have busted him out at any time. He tried to call their relationship toxic on the show, which I thought was really interesting because
he was trying to kind of like, it's like his version of honesty. Well, I did say that like I had some, like that's not honesty.
That's a guy thing.
That is a guy thing.
Yeah. Partial honesty.
You're copying to a lesser lie because you don't want to tell the whole truth.
That's a people thing.
That's a people thing. But I think that like the notion that like I'm going to be caught in telling the partial truth and hold my guns to it, that's a man thing.
You're literally going on TV. You're literally going on TV. It is now one of the biggest shows in the world. You're going on TV.
Well, and he was acting dead ass about proposing.
What?
Which really was hurtful to me because I'm like, you were about to get down on one knee knowing you had no intention. That seems to be the thing that's like the theme now.
I don't think any of these guys had most of them had no intention. Yes. They're like watching this. That's what I'm saying is like, it's hard for me to get caught up in it because most of these people didn't intend to get married. And all the women are like, well, you should have married me. And you made this promise. They knew you for a month. Like they're being assholes. They're not dateable men anyways. Like at this point, they're still not marriage material. But it's like a game show.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yes.
That's
like what
my
bothers
thing is
me.
like, that's my thing is like, so the whole thing with like, what's her name? Lisa Ann or whatever. She fucked up. Super fucked up.
Sarah Ann.
Super fucked up. it's also like, did what's her name really think that she had that much stake in him after a month? Like, come on, like they're married and engaged, but like after a month, bro. Like nobody here's in love. I just can't. It's still fucked up. But
So what do you think about the people who actually
in
got
real
married?
life,
Do you think
in
they got married without being in love?
maybe they were like starting to, but yeah, I think they got. I think it's like it's like it's your ego at this point. You have to get married. For the women, it's ego. This man's gonna leave me at the altar,
Mhm.
and the man, it's like maybe they want to see if they can get married, but none of like
Do you think they fall in love with the fairy tale? Like, oh,
yeah,
this is something we get to like kind of talk about
yes.
like for the rest of
And
our
I think there
lives.
is real intimacy. They're really like manufacturing intimacy and like getting to know somebody really fucking quickly. There's no way. I think in a real setting, if there was like over even a couple more weeks or like a couple more months, like the woman being that level of mad and icing her out like that, or the level of like what's coming up in the show would make sense. The level that it comes out in the show like does not make sense to me. I get it. It's on TV. They all actually are. I think the feelings are true. It's just like none of it is sustainable.
Yeah.
And I think the couples that made it out are anomalies.
Yeah. I think all of that's right.
I think
Yeah.
that's all marriages. And let me ask you guys
Yeah.
this. Is it my perspective on people getting married is that it is as simple as it's not finding the right person. It's not like it's just okay, I turned 28 and now in my brain I switch to go like, geez, I better probably get married soon. And you start looking at
I do
everyone with
that.
that you're kind of looking for someone just like don't give me an excuse not to marry you. And then if someone can check those boxes, you go for it. It has nothing to do with it's all timing. So maybe them for the timing and the show, they were just into it at that time too.
I
So
think
I
that's
think they're all
valid for
marriage.
most people.
Yeah,
I think
Definitely
yeah, they're all random.
valid for most people.
I agree.
There were like there was like she had posted on her Instagram story after the show basically saying that he wasn't telling the whole truth still, and that she was surprised that the show kind of went. She kind of almost described it as like going to bat for her. She didn't say that, but basically like that she was excited that it went the way she wanted it to go. And I don't know, there's just maybe I'm just prideful, but there's just like a level of like investment and willingness to like engage in things that are embarrassing online that I just like wouldn't have in me.
That's true.
Like it's not even that I wouldn't want to out him because I was mad. I would just be too embarrassed that for everyone to know that like I was willing to like date him before and after he went on this show and did all this.
That you were with it.
Yeah, that you were
Right.
with it would be embarrassing.
That's what I'm
That's what's
saying.
fascinating to me in this whole thing. Like, what has
I
our
would never out
society done?
myself.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, clout matters that much that everyone's willing to like they truly value it in this way where it's like, well, yeah, okay, yeah, it was fucked. That made me look bad, but look at all the attention he got.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Can we steer back
I
from
mean,
that?
she was okay with her man going on the show and fake marrying somebody. Like that says already something about their relationship. Like that shit is weird.
Super weird. The other couples that we got updates on were Clay and AD. And they kind of tried to pretend like they weren't a thing and like that she was off him. And it was very obvious that they've been sleeping together this entire time. They are a thing and she is on him. It literally gave the vibe of don't embarrass me on TV right now. Like I need you to go up there and eat shit because you already embarrassed me. And he was like, yes, ma'am. He got up there and was like, I made a mistake. She's the love of my life. I've been in therapy. I've been seeing the lady. I went to see different ladies. I've been doing all the work I could possibly do to make myself a good partner. And she was just being very neutral. And they were sitting far apart and honestly felt like it was on purpose.
Yeah.
And anytime he went a little bit too far with being defecating, she corrected him.
She saved him every time.
Yes.
Saved him every time.
And was touching his leg and wasn't getting very emotional when he was saying things, which was confusing because if you haven't seen this guy in a long time and he's telling you he made a mistake and you're the love of his life, you're crying.
She literally flipped as soon as like she was like no, and then like when they asked her if she would give another chance, she was like maybe. Like girl.
Well, because she was like no comment, and then she was like maybe or whatever.
Right, exactly.
So there was one thing that the internet's been kind of coming for her on is like she basically when she was giving her speech about why she didn't her monologue about why she didn't want to be with him, she was like one, it seemed like she was like saving ass, but two, she's like I don't want to end up like Clay's mom. And some people thought that was a low dig. Thoughts?
It's a low dig, but it's what I would say or think.
That's some icy shit.
That's not something you say on fucking national television.
It's not. After all the shit Clay
that's what I'm
pulled.
saying though. Like his mom she checked his dad in front of the cameras too. She saw the cameras were right there too. Like the whole thing is just a fucking mess. Like
I think the reason why it felt ice cold is because I know they're still fucking. So I was just
Yeah.
like, girl, you don't need to do all that about his
unserious.
mama.
And now she's doing a fucking press tour about it, and he's saying nothing, which I think is interesting.
What's her press tour?
She's literally on every single. She's been on like, I've seen like her on like 4 different podcasts already.
Being like, I'm not a.
Just talking about
pick
this
me?
and being like, she was like, we should watch it later, but she was just talking about how when they see each other at the bar, she's like, we're just all over each other and we're just, but we don't really text and all that much. And the guy was like, so it sounds like a situationship. And he said, it sounds like you're back at a situationship.
Ooh. The thing that was hard for me is like, let's say for face value that they haven't been fucking around and that nothing's going on and that this is really him coming here earnestly saying, I'm a better guy, I'm a better person, I've been working on my shit, I made a mistake, I feel sad. The part that was really, really hard for me was that, wow, I lost my thought. I'm really just like burning out. I'm just like so.
I think that your read on it in the beginning was so cold to me and so like dead on because I have been in that unconsciously where like you cheated on the girl, you're kind of back together, but now you gotta as a guy you gotta kind of eat some shit.
Yeah. Oh, this is what I was gonna say is that like they're back in the
Yeah, we should just land it here. I think this is actually a hilarious ending. I think we should do the other thing just really quick and then end it.
Hey, audience, you know how Gervais is a know-it-all and always has the answer? This is what it looks like when she runs out of gas.
No, this is literally a great, like, therapy rebranded moment. Actually, I think I'm not even being facetious. Like, this is, like, being authentic. Like, sometimes you just don't have it in you.
I should have ate before I came.
Yeah.
I've never seen this, so that's a lot of hours. Good job.
It's a lot of fucking hours, bro. You put in a lot of work.
I should have ate before I came, but I don't know.
You're fucking.
Oh, he finally. I need to finish my point.
You're like
I'm sorry.
fritzing?
I am.
She's not gonna let this go.
I'm not. Absolutely not.
Shh, Gabe.
I need to finish my point. So the reason why I feel like he's all in now is because there's not marriage on the table, and he's getting exactly what he wanted, whether he plays the game or not. That's what I wanted to say. He's getting exactly what he wanted, whether or not he plays the game.
I totally agree.
And so he's enjoying this with his whole heart, body, and soul. Like, this is his comfort zone. Like, the you think I'm not shit is his comfort zone. You think I'm not shit, but you're still fucking with me, and I kind of have to convince you. That's his sweet spot. That's where he wants to be.
Somebody's in my head right now.
Is it mine?
No.
Oh. Yeah, that's where he wants to be. So I just think, like, this is quintessential Clay. This is exactly who he is, and he'll do this with her for 10 years if she lets him.
That's his body language, too, by the way. Like, that is, like,
she's
a guy
over here talking shit about his mama. She should be worried about her mama giving her that poor fucking advice. Jesus Christ.
Last thing I wanted to say is that the reunion really didn't talk about Chelsea at all, which I thought was bullshit. They literally let her get off scot-free. She had no negative feedback. They didn't talk about her at all or any of her behavior.
White privilege.
And Jimmy had to eat some shit, but it was...
And then he said he would date AD?
I don't even know. It didn't even come across like that. He was just trying to cover up for the awkward conversation that they had all had. But Jimmy really had to eat his shit on the ways that he was shitty. And he did get called out because he mischaracterized Jess and basically said she was cold. And that was the reason why he didn't pick her, which I think is like code word for strong personality.
I agree.
And then he was like, yeah, you were cold. You left after 10 minutes. And then all of a sudden they replayed it and she was there for 3 hours. He spent 3 hours together, and he recounted it as 10 minutes.
And he asked for a break.
And he asked for a break, and he had told her, like, you left.
She stormed out, was what he said.
But back to, like, the working with people with borderline personality disorder, and I guess this is how we can close it out. I don't think that Jimmy has BPD, but I do think one of the tricky things about BPD is that is how they remember situations. That is how they remember things that happen to them. That is how they recount their life. It's very shortly after it happens. Every day away from the event, it becomes a different event with a skewed perception and different details based on their mood and how they're feeling.
The podcast is slow. I have this image of like the plane landing and then like the wheel comes off and there's fire coming around. I love it so much.
Anyways.
That's just a hideous fox. You know, do you want to comment on that quick? Just like why
Oh
that's up?
yeah, so on Reddit, this was going around about how Jimmy looked when he was on the couch. And it was really funny because he actually really tried to
this
look
was-
attractive, but he just looked stressed and
He just
mentally
always looks so
unwell.
worried,
And then
honey.
he tried to grow out his hair, which I get the vibe, but it wasn't hitting.
No, he should have stayed with like the Marine haircut.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go eat and relax. Have a
Bye.
weekend.
See
Bye,
you next
y'all.
week.
It's the end of the weekend, but I still wanna turn up. Yeah, I still wanna turn up.
NBC. No relation to NBC.